Good morning, fifth grade. We're going to go ahead and finish up chapter 3 today. So we have a little bit left at the end of this lesson. We're going to talk about life in Africa before the 16th century, and then we're going to talk about the impact today that this lesson has on us. So let's go ahead and get started on this. All right, so we have around the world, life in Africa before the 16th century. Long before the slave trade, Western Africa was home to a variety of cultures and contained communities both big and small. There were great empires such as Ghana, Mali, and Songhai. Gold from Mali helped Europe's economy grow in the 13th and 14th centuries AD, and was a major reason why European explorers would travel to the region. However, much of Western Africa did not have major states ruled by monarchs. Many people, such as the Lugabo and Yoruba, had smaller and more democratic societies. Igbo and Yoruba often lived in compounds made up of extended family. A larger village or town might develop from a cluster of family compounds. Towns were more frequent in Yoruba society. Often, a community would be governed by a council of elders or an elected chief. Kinship or family ties also impacted who was chosen to lead. In many traditional communities, an important religious practice was communicating with ancestors who had the power to speak to the gods. These ancestors provided access to spiritual guidance and power. The people in these societies focused on farming, herding animals, and exchanging goods in nearby markets. Among the Yoruba people, men would be responsible for farming while women would sell goods in the marketplace. The Yoruba were also skilled artisans. Their art included ivory and wood carvings, leatherwork, and casts of heads and masks made from molten metal. So this is an example of that there. This Yoruba artifact was created by pouring molten copper into a mold. And looking at the map up here, it says the United Nations has identified 5 major subregions of the African continent. So you can see on this map here by looking at the map key, the purple would be Northern Africa, okay? In the brown, we'd have Western Africa, then we have Central Africa in orange, then we have Eastern Africa in green, and then Southern Africa here in yellow. Some of the continent's oldest and greatest empires emerged in Western Africa. During a period of economic decline in Europe, a long line of kings ruled over the Kingdom of Ghana. Ghana's economy depended on trading its gold to the Berber people for salt. Around the 8th century AD, the growth of Muslim trade networks brought wealth and Islamic influence to the region. Many people converted from the traditional African faiths to Islam. In this 13th century, a leader named Sundiata Keita founded the Kingdom of Mali. The kingdom would eventually grow to include the powerful trading centers of Gao and Timbuktu. The last major empire in the region was the Songhai Kingdom, although there were other smaller kingdoms over the centuries. So here is a picture of the Great Mosque of Djenné in Mali. It is an earthen monument originally constructed in the 13th or 14th century. Earthen means it's made only from earth products, so dirt, mud, wood, etc. People from these kingdoms produced unique art and architecture and founded one of the world's greatest centers of learning, Timbuktu. Many buildings in the region were constructed from sun-dried mud bricks and clay. The Great Mosque in Djenné, Mali, is the largest freestanding earthen building in the world. Many buildings in Timbuktu were made in the same manner and have been given special protections by world organizations in order to preserve them for future generations. During the Middle Ages, people traveled from all over the world to trade and learn in the city of Timbuktu. At the time, 1/4 of the city's 100,000 inhabitants were scholars, meaning educated people. Many of these scholars studied at the University of Sankore, one of the world's earliest universities. The subjects studied there included law, mathematics, astronomy, medicine, and Islamic theology. People have worked to preserve the academic texts from the city's past. However, thousands of texts were destroyed as a result of war from 2012 to 2013. All right, let's go ahead and take a look at the map and globe skills for this lesson. So we have the 13 colonies, then and now. The United States had steadily grown in population since the Constitution was ratified in 1788. Historians estimate that around 4 million people lived in the United States in 1790. In 2015, the nation had a population of over 320 million. The maps in this section will allow you to investigate some of the changes that have occurred in the 2 centuries since the writing of the Constitution. So if you look at the map key down here, it shows you that in the green is the original 13 colonies. The black dotted line is the proclamation line of 1763. The red line were the colony boundaries, so where the colonies had lines at. And then the gray lines are now where the actual present day boundaries are. So that's what we know of today as these boundaries. So we can kind of look here. For instance, Georgia was just this area here, and now we know it as this whole gray outline. South Carolina, pretty much the same outline. North Carolina, pretty much the same, just extending out here a little bit. Virginia, the northern boundary kind of got lowered a little bit here for Maryland. You can see Pennsylvania, New Jersey, Delaware, all pretty much the same. Pennsylvania goes out this way further. New York, fairly similar because that one goes out a little bit further as well. New Hampshire and Massachusetts, or Maine, which was part of Massachusetts, is up here, and then Massachusetts is down here. Okay, so go ahead and take a look at, there's just different outlines of each state here or colony. So you have Connecticut here, their population in 1790, the population in 2015. So you can kind of compare. And then the current capital is Hartford. So I'm not going to read through all of these, but I'm going to ask you a few questions on these. So you're going to have to look at, let's start with these 6 states up here. And I'm going to ask you a few questions about those. And then looking at these 7 down here, we have Maryland, Rhode Island, South Carolina, Massachusetts, New Hampshire, Virginia, and New Jersey. I'm going to pause this and ask you a few questions about this as well. Okay, so let's look at the impact today. So it says, why is the Western Hemisphere so diverse? Diverse meaning different. So there's lots of different cultures in the Western Hemisphere. So we have cultures and languages of the Americas. The languages of North and South America are closely related to those of the early explorers and settlers. People in most of Latin America and the Caribbean speak Spanish because of the Spanish conquistadors. People in Brazil speak Portuguese because Portugal held Brazil as a colony until it became independent. Canada's official languages are English and French. Canada is part of the Commonwealth, a collection of nations that were once part of the British Empire. People in the province of Quebec speak French because the region was settled by French fur trappers. Most of the people in the United States speak English, though the nation has no official language. Spanish is common as well. According to the U.S. Census Bureau, of over 350 languages are spoken in the United States today, reflecting the influences of explorers, Native Americans, enslaved Africans, and immigrants. Although most of the people in the Americas speak a European language, they often do not speak it the same way. The many accents of American English are distinct from those used in the United Kingdom. French speakers from Quebec, Louisiana, and Paris might not understand some of one another's words. The dialects of Spanish in Latin America are unique from those in Spain. So let's go and take a look at what is the impact today. Collaborate. So I know that you guys can't talk to your partners right now because you're all at different parts, but it says an ever more connected world and our diverse society make having the ability to speak more than one language a useful skill. Talk to your classmates to see what languages can be spoken in your class. So I know that there's a few people in here that can speak Spanish. Um, are there languages you would like to learn in the future and why? So I took German all throughout high school and some in college, so I can speak German fairly well. I know a little bit of Spanish, not very much at all, just a little bit. And then obviously I speak English. So think about languages that you can speak. And then is there any language that you would like to learn in the future and why? All right, let's go ahead and take a quick look at the map here for the map skills. So obviously this is North America up here, and then we have South America down here. And we can look at the different colors, and they help us to see what colors and what different nationalities kind of had an influence in different areas of of the Americas. So if you look for the dark blue up here, that's where the French influence was. So a lot in the United States and up through Canada. And then we have this darker green. So that would be the English influence. So of course we have that in those 13 original colonies and then up in Canada a little bit here. Then we have some Dutch influence. So if we look up and look for a little bit of orange, a little bit of Dutch influence down here. And I think that's about it. So right in the northern part of South America. We have some Portuguese influence in red. So that would be right here in what is Brazil. Then we have a little bit of Russian influence. So that would be over here in what we now know is parts of Alaska and down through Canada. And then we have our Spanish influence, which we know here a lot in South America and in that Central America area. All right, religion. I'm going to go ahead and zoom in just a little bit more here. Europeans brought not only their languages, but also their religions. Spain and Portugal were, and still are, predominantly Roman Catholic. Much of the Americas is therefore Roman Catholic. As of 2010, 39% of the world's Catholics come from Latin America and the Caribbean. Among them is Pope Francis I, who was born in Buenos Aires, Argentina, and he became Pope in 2013. He is the first Pope from the Western Hemisphere. In the United States, the First Amendment of the Constitution guarantees citizens freedom to choose any religion or no religion at all. Canada and Mexico also guarantee religious freedom to their people. Diversity exists both between religion and within religions, with Christians, Jewish people, Muslims, and the people of other faiths choosing different ways to practice their faiths. Often, when a religion comes to a new people, it will pick up some of their traditions and adapt them. The Catholic holidays of All Saints' Day and All Souls' Day, for example, incorporated celebrations that originally honored the Aztec goddess Mictlantecuhtli, the Lady of the Dead. And I probably pronounced that wrong. The result is called Dia de los Muertos, or Day of the Dead. Mexican families honor the memories of deceased family members in this celebration. And that just passed. That was on November, I think it's 1st through the 4th. So these are religious affiliations in North America. So you can look at almost 75% of North Americans identify as Christians or Christianity. The next biggest is unaffiliated, and then we have smaller portions of Buddhism, folk religions, Hinduism, Islam, Judaism, and other. We have other cultural contributions. Culture extends beyond language and religion to foods, music, art, traditions, holidays, and other expressions of different peoples that make them unique. These expressions of culture often have both roots in the past and wide branches into many different types of communities today. For example, the cooking technique we call barbecue originated with the Taino people of the Caribbean before the age of explorers. The Taino people called the wooden structure they used to smoke meat brought barbacoa to the mainland, where it took hold with populations both indigenous and colonial. English colonists introduced the idea of adding sauces. Today we enjoy many types of barbecue as it has been adapted in different regions of our country and world. Along with the barbecue, people may eat potato salad, which was invented in Germany after the Spanish introduced Europe to South American potatoes. Perhaps corn, originally cultivated by Native Americans, will also be served. No party would be complete without music, with many popular modern music forms influenced by jazz and blues, styles created by African Americans using a mixture of African and European elements. As night falls, families might gather to watch fireworks invented by the Chinese. To exercise the next day, someone might practice in Indian yoga or Afro-Brazilian capoeira. Indeed, almost every aspect of daily life is a fusion of multiple cultures. So this is a depiction here of Taino barbacoa, which is their type of barbecue, and this is a more modern type of barbecue up here. And so essentially what this is telling us is that different things in our culture have been pulled and tugged and plucked from different other pieces of culture around us to create what we know today. So we were talking about the barbecue being pulled from Taino culture, potato salad you might have with your barbecue being pulled from Germany, music being starting with some African cultures. So lots of different things kind of pushed together to create our cultures that we have today. Okay, so let's look at this. What is the impact today and collaborate? Just think of habits, traditions, arts, foods, or other products of culture that come from diversity and combining of cultures. How would your life be different if that cultural product did not exist? What enjoyable activities might you no longer be able to do? So if you think about it, if the Chinese wouldn't have invented fireworks, would we have that to celebrate 4th of July? Probably not. All right, if we didn't get barbecue from the Taino, would we be able to barbecue and have grill outs? Probably not. So you got to think about these different traditions, arts, foods that came from other cultures and how that made us so diverse and so unique. And think of what your life would be like without some of these things. What if you didn't have pop music to listen to? What if you didn't have your favorite food to eat? So think about where those things may have originated from and how they got put into our culture.